Hello everyone, my name is Mr. B and welcome back to my channel. So if you notice my upload schedule, I haven't uploaded a video in about roughly a month now, and that's because I was struggling to make videos because these last few weeks, few months has been a bit slow when it comes to anime. So this video is going to be a bit different than the other videos that I usually do. Instead of talking about anime, I want to talk about something else, which in this case is going to be movies. This last few weeks, few months has been giving us a not a ton, but there's been a few movies that are worth talking about. But given my schedule and everything, I haven't really given the chance to watch a lot of movies lately. Yesterday, however, I was given the chance to watch one movie, Creed 3, which is the third movie in the Creed trilogy and one of the newest additions to the Rocky Balboa franchise. Now, I am a massive fan of Rocky Balboa. I think the franchise is really good, even for some of the worst movies, some of the bad movies, I still enjoyed the franchise nonetheless. And Creed, I feel like is the more I didn't want to say this, but it's a more superior version of Rocky Balboa in that I think it fits the modern landscape a lot more compared to when Rocky first released. But that doesn't mean that the Rocky Balboa movies were bad. It's just that I think Creed was just really hitting it all cylinders and was just really good, especially the first two movies. Hey guys, it's me from the future. I just want to clarify that what I meant by this is that while Rocky is a good franchise with really good stories, I personally felt that Creed fits more with the current times compared to Rocky did, which is obvious considering that Rocky was released a while back ago. Just want to clear that up. I do not really mean that Rocky was inferior, it's just that Creed is a better franchise because it is much more recent. That's all. But if I have to be honest, I didn't even know the third movie was coming out this year. I was invited by some friends to watch it and I watched it. And I've given it overnight to think about it, to let it stew, to let it just boil down in my mind. I listed some stuff that I liked and I didn't like from the movie, and I'm just want to give my thoughts about this movie since it's fairly new and people might have questions on whether or not this movie is worth watching or not. Now, of course, I always say this: if you're curious, if you want to know how good the show, the movie actually is, go and watch it yourself. But in this video, I'm just going to give my thoughts on the movie and maybe give you an idea of what to expect when you do watch the movie. So let's do down the pros and the cons, and I'm going to start with the pros first since I think this is going to be much more easy to explain it. If you're a Creed fan, this movie has everything that Creed is known for. It has the same vibe, same style as Creed usually does. It's Michael B. Jordan's first directorial debut, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he handled it really well. Cinematography looks great. I think the overall movie just felt like a Creed movie, felt like a Rocky movie actually. It was different from the other Creed movies, but it still had that Creed style, and I think that if you're a fan of Creed, this is still worth watching for that regard. The acting was really good, of course. Michael B. Jordan definitely carried this movie as he usually do, of course, but I think this movie he had another competition in terms of acting in Jonathan Majors. I haven't seen Jonathan Majors before, at least I don't think I do. I didn't really watch Ant-Man or any of that those Marvel movies where he's in recently, so I don't really know his acting skills. But in this movie, he gave a performance that I think rivals even that of Michael B. Jordan, which is really good. I think this is the first Rocky movie that I felt like that since Apollo, where the main villain or main antagonist is as memorable as the main character is. And to top it all off, I think the story overall, I think is a good way to end the Creed story. If this was the last Creed movie, I'd be happy. I think it ticks all the boxes. It wraps everything up in a nice bow, and yeah, I think if it ends right here, which I hope it does, I'll be happy. And I think it's a good way to end the franchise. Now, that of course leads me to my cons, what I don't like about the movie. Now, when I watch a movie, a series, or whatever, there's always two sides of me that is reacting, the critical side of me and the enjoyment side of me. Basically, I'll view this movie critically and how much I enjoy this movie personally. And Creed 3 felt like a really good movie critically. I think critically I give it a 7.5, maybe even an 8. I think critically it did everything right, but enjoyment factor put into that, I did not really enjoy this movie. I tried really hard to enjoy this movie, but I just couldn't. And I think the biggest reason why is the story. Now, I said before the story did wrap everything nicely and it would be a good end to the trilogy, which it is. I think the story ended really well. But what I didn't like is that the story just didn't work for me. And I think that's because the introduction of Jonathan Majors' character, Andre Diamond Dame. I said this before, Jonathan Majors gave a really good performance, and he did. He did give a good performance. I liked Diamond Dame. But what I didn't like is that he was sort of just shoved right in there. The movie sort of forced him into becoming this villain for Creed. Yes, we got some backstory, we got some information about him, how he felt abandoned by Adonis after all those years in prison, and he wants to live the life that was taken from him. But at the same time, I just didn't feel comfortable watching because it did not feel right. It felt like I was forced to watch him becoming the main villain. It was different from, say, the other two Creed movies because I remember those quite well. The other two Creed movies, while had good antagonist, the focus was never for the antagonist. The focus was always towards Creed and how he deals with situations, how he deals with emotions in every movie. The first movie was him as an uppercomer and wanting to live up to his father's name. The second movie was him about to avenge his father, to beat Drago's son in the name of his father. And the third movie was more focused on Creed's past. But the thing that I'm not a fan about is that it tried to introduce a story that I feel like was unnecessary. Yes, I do admit that exploring Creed's past would be pretty good, but I wasn't really a big fan of how this movie did so. I wasn't a big fan of the story in general. It's really hard for me to explain, really, but watching it with friends, all of us agreed that the story just isn't as good, but it was still an enjoyable movie. It was still, I think, a really enjoyable movie. Even with my problems, I still enjoyed the movie. And like I said, quickly, it's a good movie. Hey guys, it's me again from the future. I just noticed this during editing that I said I didn't enjoy the movie, but then I said I did, which is contradictory. I need to correct this and say that I didn't really enjoy most of the movie, but there were parts that I did enjoy, hence why I did say that I think this movie was enjoyable. This is what happens when I don't have a script. I say things. It got a 7.4 on IMDb and an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. So obviously the critics love it. But speaking out of it from my own personal enjoyment, I was not a big fan of it, and it definitely is the weakest out of the Creed movies for sure. If I were to make like a binge watching of Creed movies, will I still watch it? Yes, of course, but I'm not gonna sit here and say this is a good movie personally because I personally just did not enjoy it. But if you are a fan of Rocky, if you are a fan of Creed, and if you do want to watch this movie, personally would recommend it in a sense that it is a Rocky movie. It is a Creed movie. It has everything of a Creed movie. It's just that personally, I am not really a big fan of the story of this movie. But if it is any consolation, it is absolutely 100% way better than some of the last few Rocky movies that we got. That is for sure. Overall, I have to give this movie a 6 out of 10 for me personally. Again, it's not a bad movie, and a lot of young people will probably enjoy this movie more than I did. But personally, I did try my hard to enjoy this movie, but some of the flaws were just too obvious for me to ignore and just push aside, and it ultimately did affect my enjoyment for the movie. But with that being said, what do you guys think about the movie? What do you guys think the movie did right? What the movie did wrong? Did you enjoy the movie or did you not enjoy the movie? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button and hit subscribe if you want to see more of these kinds of videos. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.